is the referee for Judge Baines. I had no contact with Judge Baines. My contact is with Judge Thompson. I've been at the job about 7 weeks now, and it was clear almost immediately that Judge Baines' orders were not being followed. The simple orders: return LICH to 19th of July. None of that has happened. As of when Judge Baines' order was given on the 16th of August, since that time, the other direction has been the routine. It has become, the hospital has been depleted of critical personnel. The orders in Judge Baines' order to restore the emergency room, to restore surgery and obstetrics as backup for the emergency room, to have the hospital running as it was on the 19th, which was in fact a very complete hospital. Not what it was in January, but remarkably complete. As an example, on the 19th there were 7 attending anesthesiologists working at LICH and 8 anesthesiology residents working at LICH. Now and since that time, there is 1. The result is there can't be surgery because, Dr. Lucchese says, it can't be surgery because if the anesthesiologist goes into the surgical suite, he won't be available, or she, for an emergency intubation or a breathing problem. So it's a game that's being played, but it's obviously a game up and down the line. All of Judge Baines' orders, with the one exception that the state of siege hospital that you all know so well has regressed. It's not what it was during the state of siege. That's the only change that I have seen in the right direction. Okay, as many of you may know, there were some newspaper articles at the end of last week. I got to the point where I was seeing nothing happening except going in the wrong direction. And also, as I was meeting regularly with Judge Thompson, I was hearing how things were going in terms of finding the new suitor, the new management for the hospital. When I first walked in and sat with Judge Thompson, he told me there were 31 names that had been submitted. 2.5 weeks later or so, that had been reduced to 17 names. Last week, that was reduced to 5 names. Okay? That whole process, I have no information about. How were people, what happened to the 31, to the 17? How did that turn into 5? Who made those decisions? Did people withdraw? Possibly, because in fact, the bill that anybody wanting to manage LICH has to come up with is $500 million. That is what LICH, quote unquote, owes. Now, that's discouraging. That's an awful lot of money. When you look at what that bill is, I don't know if anybody in the room understands that, but what I have been shown by Judge Thompson is the bill is composed of 4 parts. One part is $120 million that has to go to state bond funds. Apparently the state floated bonds in order to make this transaction work. Those bonds must be returned. Well, $120 million, my response to that is the governor can move a little money around and take care of that problem, or pay it off over 20 years. You know, so, but that's one number. The other part of the bill, another part of the bill, was the OFMR funds. The OFMR funds have to be paid back by the new management team. But the new management team, if I'm the new management team, I'm saying, well, I'd love to manage this hospital. We've got terrific, we can do this. I've got to pay off $140 million that I never heard about before, that I don't know what happened, that the courts are looking into what happened. Well, sorry guys, if that's part of the deal, count me out. Another part of that bill is something like $70 million for I'm not sure what. It's not registered, okay. And then a fourth part of the bill, and then the total comes up to $480 billion.
Million.
Billion. Excuse me. Yeah, right. $480 million. Excuse me. The fourth part of the bill is all it says is exit fee. Well, I'm assuming that's going to SUNY somehow. Exit fee. How much is the exit fee? $153 million. So that in fact SUNY is getting the money they are looking for to bail themselves out. It could have been condos, and now they're trying to get it from whomever who will come in to manage. So I don't know if there were some very, very good suitors that are looking at this and saying, "Hey, forget this. This is nonsense. We were not going to get involved with this. It's ridiculous." I don't know who's making the decision about who is an appropriate suitor. Well, we know this is a SUNY program, and we don't know anything about it because SUNY won't tell anybody about it. The RFP apparently has been hidden and not available to the public for sure, and maybe not available to the judges. So we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and we don't know how that number has gotten down to 5. The judge told me and others in the room on Friday who the suitors are. And one is Brooklyn Hospital. Brooklyn Hospital is just coming out of a bankruptcy, and they're in no position to do anything for anybody. Another was Lutheran Hospital, and there was some deal, maybe Lutheran and Brooklyn are going to do it together, and something like this. Another suitor is a Chinese group that claims to have 200 doctors, and it's not clear where they're from. They're not from Sunset Park. And where are they from? Maybe Hong Kong, maybe, I don't know where. But that doesn't sound like a hospital group. That sounds like condominiums again. There's a fourth group that is, I think it's called Fortin, and the judge told me he doesn't know who they represent. Do they represent somebody who we might be interested in? He tickled me because I've been pushing him to get Maimonides involved in the bidding. It seems to me a strong, excellent hospital that would be excellent for a relationship with LICH, and he kind of hinted that that might be Maimonides. I think he may have been giving me a good weekend and making me happy for a weekend. I don't really know. The point is that it's down to 5 people, and as of the beginning of last week, the 31 of October, the deal was supposed to be completed. Now on Friday he says it's not going to be on the 31st, maybe the 15th of November. Something to do with Demarest, but he was very vague. I don't think he knows what's going on. There's so much moving around the shelves and looking for the P that no one really knows what's going on. But those 5 and that whole RFP process just doesn't look kosher. And
that was good. You got the blessing.
So that is really the situation. I'm sorry? I don't know.
What was the question?
But who was the 5th one? I can't remember. But there was nobody on the list that was familiar that seemed an appropriate partner. Who is going to make the decision?
I'll elaborate. The Lutheran deal is an outpatient clinic.
Right.
Okay, the Lutheran deal is not the hospital. They're going to just take over the clinic. Okay? And that's part of the Brooklyn deal. But remember, Brooklyn Hospital CEO is best friends with Williams. Okay, so you're not going to deal with two devils.
Right.
Doesn't make a saint.
John
It's also
is
best
the
friend.
president of
Yes.
SUNY downstairs.
Okay, I mean, the whole thing is not
That
pretty.
is
No.
Not at all
Very
pretty.
ugly.
Okay. So right now, it's not at all clear that among those 5 people, there is someone who is of the kind of partner that LICH.
Speak to the mic.
Speak to the mic. It's not clear that the proper partner is in place if that final decision is made. It may be, you can all think as I do about how are they conniving and trying to move this around so that the Department of Health, who supposedly is going to make the final decision, but there's no separating the Department of Health from SUNY at this point. So, and if you have 4 possibilities who are clearly inadequate by everybody's estimation, and a 5th that wants to build condos, I don't know. It seems like that's all they've been doing for the last 9 months, so this is just a continuation of their steamroller. They're ignoring the judges. They're just moving ahead as if they don't hear, see anything that's going on around them. That's been my experience, and I don't know if there are any questions or any other information I can help you with.
We have a question right over there. Yeah, I don't know if you can address it for what you're saying, but maybe some other involved parties can address it. Now, what I heard earlier is that it sounds like there's a possibility for Judge Demarest, I guess it is, to vacate the acquisition of LICH by SUNY Downstate.
Right.
Now, in private real estate, that would mean, now you've got a new seller. On the other hand, as you say, it's the Department of Health, it's still the state.
Right.
So I'm wondering, if someone can clarify. Yeah.
No. If they vacate her order in August of 2011,
Yeah.
guess who's the entity that controls LICH? Continuum. Continuum never dissolved their board. The so-called LICH board is a mirror board of whatever board sat for Beth Israel, sat for LICH. Whatever board sat for Roosevelt St. Luke's sat for LICH. It was a mirror board. And that board never really dissolved. The entity LICH reverts back to Continuum. That's why their attorney, Kornreich, is at these meetings. Because they don't want to get involved with this quote-unquote show. Okay? Because it's going to bring them down and their deal in Mount Sinai is going to go up the chute. Okay? So that's the problem. So the entity, if it becomes back to what it was, it comes under the control of Continuum, and they don't want any part of it.
There's also another thing to keep in mind. The ownership of the buildings and the operation of the hospital are a split matter. So even though SUNY may at some point no longer own the buildings, until there's another licensed operator of the hospital, SUNY would still be the operator, even though they're not the owner. So that's a distinction to keep in mind.
Well, Long Island College lost their operating certificate once SUNY Downstate took over LICH. We had our own operating certificate prior to this takeover. Even though we're part of Continuum, we had our own operating certificate. We don't have that anymore.
I want to thank Dr. Berall so much for giving us an inside view of what is going on.